police department.
Right down there, Coop.
I'm late, as usual.
I'd like to call the Committee on Public Safety and Emergency Management to order this evening. We're going to do one motion tonight, or one little conference here. Everybody got a memo that if they had any questions on the new software for police and fire for the dispatchers. I've asked the two chiefs in tonight, or the assistant chief, fire chief, Mr. John Gannett, nice Frenchman from, Attleboro. And every so often we have to get an Irishman in, Mr. Hegney. We asked you here, or I asked you here tonight, to go over the new software again for us in case anybody had any questions, and also the change of vendors.
Thank you, sir.
Okay.
So, as this council knows, recently, the city council graciously provided funding to the fire department and, I guess, also the police department for a CAD software system. And what we're requesting now is just to use a different vendor. That we were going to go with one vendor, and we just, because it's a council vote, we don't have that flexibility of going to a different vendor. So when the request came down from the fire chief, it was getting late in the fiscal year, and we had to move, we had to act, so we sent the request to the mayor, and the mayor came down. So since that time, myself with the fire chief, I was able to find a more complete, better software for the system for both departments, that we can deliver a better quality service with much more options and overall cost savings down the road than what we're currently using. And it will enhance our dispatch capabilities that we currently don't have right now with the software that we're using. So, and basically it's just a simple, we're not asking for money, right? The money you gave us will be sufficient, and we're just asking the council basically to use a different vendor. So that's what we're looking for. I tried to spell it out the easiest I could through that memo. It may be a little convoluted. There's a lot of supporting information in that memo, but at the same time, the request came in, the council voted it, and the fire chief and police chief are basically asking to use a different vendor. That's in summation, to dumb it down to its bottom principle, lowest principle.
We have, I have two motions I'm going to bring in later, Chief. One to rescind the original vote, and the other to vote it out so that it can legally go to the other vendor for you.
That'd be great. Like I said, we're not asking for any additional funding.
This isn't an emergency measure in my department. It'll be voted on next week. So.
Great. Thank you. Because it is getting, it's getting, July 1st, January,
Next
June
week
30th
is next week is fine for you, gentlemen?
Yes, that's fine.
Okay.
So it's,
Good. I'll open it up to questions for the council. Is it here?
Actually, a question to the chair while we're here. It would take 2 minutes to vote them out now. Would it make sense to just do it now?
Well, this is I'm trying not to hold up the school committee. I mean, I can vote them. It'll take 2 minutes if you don't mind.
No.
Okay. Any questions for either one of these, chief? Chief and the assistant, deputy chief, assistant chief.
Just saying
One step away from the big seat. Okay. Any questions from my councilmen on why they're here tonight and what we're looking for? No? Hearing none. From the docket of June 6th, we're all set, gentlemen.
great, thank you.
Thanks, John. I'm sorry to get you out and Kyle back from that conference.
I appreciate it greatly, and thank you
Thank
for the
you.
council's support on this tremendously.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks again, Kyle.
I just, while I'm here, I just want
Sure.
to say that, I don't know if everybody knows this, but unfortunately, Dave Proyer, retired captain of the Attleboro Police Department, passed away suddenly last night from a massive heart attack.
You gotta be kidding.
No, so
How long's he been gone? He's been out that long, hasn't he?
I've, 7 years, I think he retired.
Really?
Yeah.
Boy, time goes
Yeah.
by.
So he was a great person, very humble, a loyal servant of the city for many years, and
I'm sorry to hear
it
that.
comes at a shock. So, I mean, he had a massive heart attack in his sleep last night, so the wake's going to be this Friday at Duffy Pool, 4 to 8, and the funeral Saturday morning, so
Okay.
It's really,
Kenny, have you got that? So all councilors get, would you just
Yeah,
get those
absolutely.
dates to Ken so we can
Absolutely.
get it out to all councilors?
So it's
Thank you.
Tragic.
Sorry to hear that.
Sorry to hear that. Thank you.
Sorry to hear it.
okay. Thank you very much.
From the docket of June 6, 2017, I entertain a motion to approve the mayor's request that the municipal council rescind vote 9 of May 2, 2017, which provided approval for the addition of a fire department module to the current CAD system in the amount of $47,800, as the city is no longer pursuing this specific item. Have a second? Any comments, questions? Hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye, motion passed. From the docket of June 6, 2017, I entertain a motion to approve the mayor's request to transfer $47,000 from account 1124100-578360, citywide reserve compensation 53rd week, to account 1210100-585050, police software, to replace the computer-aided dispatch CAD system software currently in use with the new system.
Second.
Any comments, questions? Hearing none, all those in favor? Aye. Motion passes. I move to recess.
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Thank you very much, and thank you, Ms. Hegney, for letting me do that and get these chiefs in and out of here tonight. One is on his trip back to Martha's Vineyard. He's at a conference down there, so. He won't have to use a Coast Guard boat on the way back if you get him back.
You guys are all
Yeah.
messed up.
What does mine say?
Conti.
You're right there, Jules. You're the next one. What are you doing? No, it's for the committee.
You switch yours.
I think they know who you are.
You never know.
What does mine say? Is mine right?
A superintendent and chairman and school committee member, finance. Why don't you come on up? You always come up, no? And Mr. Larson's in the audience. We still recognize him. Thank you, school committee member Larson. Good evening. Thank you for everyone for coming this evening. I'd like to call the Budget and Appropriations to order at 6:11 PM. And the education, it's on page 40. Okay, first of all, as it always comes down the budget from the school department, we call it the education department, it has been approved by our elected school committee members. The budget has been approved. Now it's sent over to the city side, and the city will approve the budget, as it's already been approved line by item by the school committee members first. So what we've been doing is open it up for dialogue, back and forth. So welcome Chairman Withers and Superintendent Sawyer. Welcome. You've been very active over the years anyway, but now that you're implementing what your theory is, what your philosophy is in the education, if you wanted to start off, I know you guys are very diligent about giving us all information, creating informational packets that you send over to us. Thank you, outlining the future goals of the school department, but just what's going on now. Obviously, changes are going about. And one other thing is, I just want to point out that the committee does recognize that the state formula does need to be fixed for the school department. So we're not going to have a lengthy discussion on the state formula to take up too much time, because we do know that needs to be fixed. Okay, thank you. So would you like to start off, Chairman or Superintendent? Superintendent, since
You're the boss.
So I'll say a couple words, and then I'll let Superintendent Sawyer talk about kind of the vision of going forward and trying to maintain a sustainable budget. I think this was a as all budgets recently have been for the school department, this was a tough budget cycle. We were, despite that, we were happy that there, as opposed to last year and the last many years, there are no loss of positions in this budget. We were hoping that we would be able to start to claw back at some of the positions we've lost over the past couple of years. But like many other departments, as a result of the health insurance rate spike, that kind of that took that possibility away. We are starting from a very significant underfunding. We're approximated at least $10 million that the school department needs in order to get where we need to be able to, on a year-to-year basis, go forward with what are our appropriate increases. But that being said, given the fiscal times that we're in, the fact that we're able to pass this budget without cutting any positions was a was a victory of sorts for us, even though it a tough pill to swallow, but better than the last few years. And that being said, I will turn it over to the superintendent to talk about kind of the vision of what we hope to do going forward, knowing that we need to claw at that $10 million number.
Thank you, Chairman Mothers. It is true, the schools are underfunded. I'm here to tell you that we have significantly less than we need to meet the needs of the students of Attleboro. Our estimate as to how much we would need, as Mr. Withers remarked, is about $10 million. And while that's a jaw-dropping sum, to put it into perspective, that amount of money would still leave us below state average for per pupil expenditures. So it's not as crazy a number as you might think it is. That being said, we work hard every day with both the educators within the district and with officials in the city to do the best we can with what we have. And we are, I think, doing an excellent job, and I think the record shows that the students are in good hands and that we're making gains against the wind, and I'm quite proud of the effort that's put in. But the city should understand that the conditions we're operating under are unsustainable. If we, over the long term, do not address the gap between what we have and what we need, there will be slippage in results. There's no way to avoid it. Our class sizes are high. We do not have the supports that we need, and both the educators who are putting in extra effort to sort of close that gap, and the kids that we serve are suffering as a result of this. So it's a dire situation, and I think it has to be understood that that's the case. But that being said, we all understand that the city only has the capacity to do what it can do, and that we have to chart a course that is realistic and operates within what we are able to do. Wanting things to be different doesn't change anything. So we've worked hard with the city to avoid the sort of calamitous events that befell the district last spring, and have delivered a budget proposal that, while inadequate in meeting the needs of the kids, as I would describe what we really need, will be something that we can deliver on to the best of our ability for the following year.
And just before we open it up to questions or comments, I think following up on Superintendent Sawyer, I don't know if it was school committee member Quinn or Tyler that said that essentially this budget stops the bleeding. The last couple of years have been really tough on the school district, and this year is as well. But it does stop the bleeding to a certain extent. But it should not paint the picture for anyone, because there are no layoffs coming or there are no cuts coming, that this is a budget that we're happy about or proud of for the school district, but it's one that we think kind of plugs the hole for this year and hope for better times ahead.
Thank you, and thank you, Mr. Furtado. No, you're always all over the place, and always thank you for always answering questions, and thank you to all the school committee members. Mr. Furtado, we're talking about personnel, and I know we haven't had the change, but you have added some administration on that. There has been positions that are filled, which you needed. I'm not saying you didn't need them filled, but there have been some positions filled, correct?
We eliminated some positions and used the funds from those positions to fund new positions. So we no longer have a student services coordinator. That was sort of transformed into a human resources director.
Okay, thank you. And I'm asking these two because these are questions.
Sure.
And also for the personnel, for the health insurance, the benefits, are we still carrying? Because I know on the city side, when Owen Bebo, our personnel director, came for his budget, we asked the same questions. The people, some have been rehired somewhere else, so we don't have to continue to pay certain benefits. What's going on the school side?
I believe we've through people finding other jobs or being called back because of retirements or people leaving our district, have pretty much exhausted the queue that existed from the big layoff. So we're not liable for those benefits at this point in the year. In terms of health benefits for next year, we had to absorb a significant amount of money, about $750,000 to $800,000 because of the rate increase.
I mean holistically for the school department, not just because of a particular person, but for the whole school?
Yeah.
I just wanted to clarify that for the whole school. Okay. So the people that were laid off either for retirements were rehired or found positions elsewhere?
Yes, for the most part.
So that's for the most part. So that is, like you said, not great news to say it's good news that they did, but it is good news. Ms. Parika?
Thank you, Chairperson Pigney. Thank you for coming in tonight, as always. It's interesting that you quoted Mr. Quinn with regards to that, because that was an interesting, something very interesting to me to read in the newspaper, because I refer to it also as like, we've stopped the bloodletting. Like, we're no longer like flowing blood anymore.
Hemorrhaging, right?
Right, we have a Band-Aid over a big giant hole. And one of my concerns, so I have a couple of questions, if you don't mind, that I just roll with it. I am concerned about your teaching staff being able to manage higher classroom levels, especially at the middle school level where they have a rotation of 120 kids that come in and out, and there's a reduction in their ability to, give out homework and be able to correct that homework and do appropriate, assessments of their writing for MCAS and different things like that. So the writing is on the wall for us to slip, because it's just, we all know that teachers are superhuman, but there's a limit to, there's a bit of kryptonite in that, So I have a strong concern with that. But I've always been a little bit, well, not always, but over the course of the last couple of years, I've been curious as to why the school committee, approves a level-funded budget when it doesn't actually reflect what's necessary. So maybe, and I've had people ask me that question as well, so perhaps you could.
Sure. That's a tough conversation we have as a school committee each year, and it's a question that we obviously get from constituents. And frankly, it's a question that we get from the other side, from the city, of why are you approving a level funded budget when you know you're not going to get level service budget when you know you're not going to get it. Why don't you be more reasonable? So, you have those on one side saying don't even request that, and you have those on the other side saying level services isn't enough. Why don't you request more? It's a balancing act. It's clearly not a perfect science. I don't think we've perfected it. If anyone figures out the formula, I'd love to know. We take the atmosphere and the situation as what it is, and we felt, for instance, last year, where we were very vocal in advocating for above level services, and it upset some people, and it definitely brought the budget situation at the forefront. It's something that I absolutely think was the right thing to do. I would do it again in a heartbeat, because I think that it brought the issue to the forefront. And people say, well, why didn't you do the same thing again this year? Because it's not something you can do every year. I think that people understand the schools are underfunded now. Now we need to start to claw away. And how do we claw away? Now we need to start to build relationships and try and find ways to plug holes in every which way. We're trying to do that. It's a struggle. It's an absolute struggle, but I think we're making progress. But unfortunately, the situation in the city now, we're not going to get level service funding. We haven't in years, and it's not going to happen. It's just it's the reality. We'll advocate that level services isn't even adequate for the schools, but you also have to deal in reality, and each year is a different animal, and we do what we think is the best to get as much as we can for the school district, and that's what we've done past years and this year.
If I could add to that, we need to work on the fiscal sustainability of our expenses. We need to adjust our structural issues within the budget so that from year to year we have expenses that are manageable in a 2.5% reality that we now operate in. If we don't demonstrate an ability to do that, any increases we find a way to bring into the schools really just go to pay for escalating costs and don't actually close the gap between what we have and what we need. And so we need to prove that we can manage our expenses responsibly so that the community understands that any additional payments to the schools will actually result in closing those gaps. And that's why at this stage I think this budget is responsible and it helps to set the foundation by which we will address that $10 million gap in time.
Thank you very much for your very thorough explanations. I'm grateful for that, so thank you very much.
Thank you, and I think it's also important where you're very vested too. Everyone is too, as this new superintendent. I think you bring a lot of pride also with you, and your managerial style is also well accepted. So even with combining different positions, trying to say, and the key words, fiscal sustainability, and even with the general public, like you said, understanding you can manage a school department budget with having that 2% increase. It's important to know that you do bring a positive aspect, and I just wanted to let you know that.
Thank you.
Ms. Hall?
And I want to really affirm what you're saying, because I've sat in on the finance budget for most of the meetings that I could and watched Mark do his magic, and I don't mean to do that tongue-in-cheek. It's amazing to watch, and it was actually refreshing to watch, because I would sit there so many times and say, well, you guys go through that too? They go through very, very similar hard and tough decisions, just like we do. We just don't see that happening. And balancing acts, and every time they do find an excess, and I remember starting off the year, you said, oh, it looks like we're going to come in under budget here. Sure enough, at the end of the year, the healthcare went up, other costs went up, and there that money went. And I just thought, I was like so like depressed as I get here when we have that conversation. So I do have to affirm that it's, it's nice to be able to walk in your shoes too, because not to say I wish we didn't all feel that kind of pain. It is what it is. And I just really affirm that you really do the best job that you possibly can with the money that you have. And you run into, just like I said, the same situations we run into over here. And it's, yeah, it is what it is. And thank you for what you do. Really appreciate it.
Thank you. And I'd also say that, the school committee and the school administration has been lucky to have Mr. Larson, who's in the back there, as our finance chair for the past, I think, three or four terms of the school committee, and with Mr. Furtado, those are impressive meetings to go to, as you know. They go through a lot, and they make a solid presentation of the school committee and the public.
Thank you very much. Any more questions? The Education Department? Okay, anything else you'd like to add? Mr. Furtado, anything else?
No, I just want to thank you for letting us come and speak and answer questions. And as I always say when I appear before the body, that we try very hard to communicate and are willing to come here anytime to answer any questions. We enjoyed the hearing with Mr. Cooper, and happy to do that at any time for the council.
And thank you. This was the only time that we could get the night and the time together. As everyone knows, there's a lot of things going on in the school department, so I tried to work with you and get you here. So I
appreciate that.
Anytime. I just wanted to, I tried to accommodate everyone. So if anyone, I know a council said, why are you having it before? Well, it's a committee meeting night and it's the only time. So other things going on, I know I saw a hand maybe, but things in the school department going on right now, the graduation dates.
Graduation is a week from Friday.
Yes, it is. Oh, sorry.
Hadley's great, but any other activities, anything that going on in the schools, right? I was excited to see different PTAs and field day events and things going on. There seems to be a lot of enthusiasm in the schools.
Busy time of year.
Busy time of years with lots of the schools all having their field days, color runs, things of that nature. We have graduation, obviously senior week next week. There's a lot of meetings with the new high school project, obviously, so it's a very busy time, but it's an exciting time in the schools. It's always a fun time of the calendar.
Yes, it is to see.
Can I ask one question? Do you know the date of the evening class graduation? Because I did get an invitation for that, because that's one of my favorite events to go to.
This Thursday.
Is it Thursday night? You should talk about moving it outside, because it's usually 700,000 degrees in there.
It's Tuesday.
6 o'clock.
Okay.
6 o'clock.
Thank you.
Tomorrow or Thursday?
Thursday.
Thursday. Today's Tuesday.
That's one of the most emotional, honestly, I mean, sorry, Mark, but that's one of the most emotional commencements that I go to, because, you know, the challenges that those kids face, and and the parents are all, everyone's crying, and
And
it's
it's
wonderful.
I used to teach when it was part over before it consolidated the night program, the ESL program. It's very rewarding. Mr. Cooper?
So the other thing I wanted to add is I do appreciate the scan notes that you send. I read them, they're concise, I sort of know what's going on. If I have any questions, I call and try to find out what's going on. So I do appreciate that. Thank you for sending those, and I read every one of them, so I sort of know what's going on. So thank you.
Great.
And thank you again for being very receptive. Anyone, any more kudos or? Okay, yes. Mr.
Just while we're
Dawson.
doing kudos in terms of the field day, I want to recognize the outstanding job the Coelho Middle School did last Friday on their first color-a-thon. So your son all colored in chalk. It was great, and that PTO does so much for the community, and I think it just shows, we talked earlier in the budget session about synergy, and, you know, I think we've learned a lot from the last 12 months especially. I'd like to see that continue in terms of the synergy, in terms of the communication. I know, Mr. Furtado, every time I call you, you know, you're very accommodating. Mr. Withers the same. So I personally thank you for that, because this is a big budget to understand. There's a lot of moving parts that go into this, more so than any other budget. So I personally appreciate the time that you guys have taken over the year.
And thank you again. We don't want to sugarcoat, obviously, the situation is still a situation, but we just want to say thank you. Okay, thank you. I'd like to call a recess at 6:31 p.m.
Would you like to look?
Check.
Next. No, I'm looking.
I don't think so. but-
I don't think so.
Recess? Are you recessed?
No.
Okay, I'd like to call for an adjournment.
Second.
So can you return, can you take a second?
What is that?
Have no other business this evening?
Hold on. That's what I was double checking.
Okay. Recess if you do. And come back.
That's what, yeah, a recess. I'll be second. All in favor? Aye.
Oh, sorry, not me.
I wanted to double check before I adjourn. I've learned that lesson.
Who's,
On February the 21st, 2017, for an appropriation of $13,000, the lowest bid came in at $13,438.
Second.
Thank you. So a repair estimate was received and we appropriated the money for 13,000. But because the bid came in at 13,438, they have to ask for an additional, but they're also asking for an additional $1,000 because what they have to do is, first of all, this is to actually give them heat in this building, because they don't have heat in the building right now. So they're gonna have to pull apart the boiler, and he always likes to put in like a contingency amount, so that in case when they pull it apart, they find anything else, he doesn't have to come back to us. But other than that, if they don't find anything wrong, they'll just put the money back in. So that's why they're asking for that additional 1,000. Any comments? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Secondly, I entertain a motion to approve the mayor's request to transfer $7,500 from account 6100-578300, Water Enterprise Fund Reserve Fund for transfer to account 6100-530101, Water Enterprise Fund Professional Services, to have an outside contractor replace worn-out hydrant gate nuts throughout the city.
Second.
Okay. Sounds kind of crazy, because that seems like a lot of money to replace nuts, but it is what it is. So I get several of the city's hydrant gate nuts, which are the top things that you have to open up, so when they flush the hydrants, have worn down, so they're more rounded, so they're difficult to get off. So they need to be replaced, and they're very, very worn. And they need to bring in an outdoor contractor, and the nuts at a full-day labor rate of $2,500 for a total of 3 days, totaling $7,500. Any comments, questions? Yes, please.
This, I should know myself because I was on that committee for such a long time.
We don't know everything.
No, but it would seem to me that distribution, this would be a part of distribution that installs the hydrants and whatnot. Is it because they don't have enough help?
He didn't mention that he didn't have enough
Okay,
help.
all right. It's just-
You mean,
In past experience,
are
I
you,
would think the distribution crew would be able to replace those. And we
Well-
wouldn't need outside labor.
I'll ask that question.
please?
I would be more than happy to.
And I'm not trying to, it just doesn't quite make sense to me,
We're supposed to ask
Katie.
questions. I'll be more than happy to ask. Can I get back to you on that?
Oh, yeah, no problem.
Before the vote
no
next week?
problem. Yeah, it's a vote for
I'll
next
give you a
week.
text
I'd appreciate
message.
it. I think most of us would like to know that
Sure, I'll be
it's
happy to ask
something that
that.
has to go
Why we
outside.
can't do it
has to
ourselves?
go outside.
Well,
We
I
can't do
have-
everything.
No, we can't do everything, but I do have good, high faith in Mr. Kennedy that, as acting water superintendent, that he's researched that, because I know we do a
Okay.
lot of other things, but I'll ask him. I think it's a good question. Thank
All
you.
right, thank
Any
you.
other comments, questions? All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion passes. Thirdly, I entertain a motion to approve the mayor's request to transfer $7,875 from account 6100-578300, Water Enterprise Fund Reserve Fund for transfer to account 6100-530101, Water Enterprise Fund Professional Services to clean the vents, ductwork, and treat for microbial contamination at the West Street Water Treatment Plant.
Second.
Sounds disgusting. So it's the same thing like at home, when you, especially after you've done a lot of projects in your house, they have to go in and clean all the vents. But in this case, they have a lot of contaminants in their building. So it hasn't been done in 4 years, and they do it approximately every 4 years. Any comments, any questions? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. I entertain a motion to approve the mayor's request to transfer $75,000 from account 6000-553130, wastewater enterprise fund - chemicals, to account 6000-599000, wastewater enterprise fund, other financing uses, and to further transfer $75,000 from account 6000-599000, wastewater enterprise fund, other financing uses, to fund 3221-499000, filter press improvements, other financing sources, to make hydraulic repairs to the filter presses at the wastewater treatment plant Due to the fact that the extent of the repairs is unknown until both units are disassembled, the quote solicited includes a Part A and Part B, and also includes a 12% contingency. Second. Thank you. So, this involves the filter presses, and they've been in service for the last 9 years. They're used 7 days a week, 7 days a week, 7 days a week, and they operate on very, very high pressure. Both presses are in need of hydraulic repairs. However, they are until they're disassembled, the extent of the repairs is unknown. So they don't know, like, if they pull it apart and they take out the pistons, and the pistons may look great, and they put them back in, then it won't cost us much more. But if they pull the pistons out and they see that the parts or gadgets have to be replaced, Mr. Kennedy felt that he just wanted to make sure that he had enough money in that account. Again, like I had spoken about another motion, he puts a contingency in there to be able to get those repairs done rather than have to come back to us. And he doesn't want to be down one of the presses, because if you have one down and the other one goes down, we're out of luck. Where everything's just kind of stuck there, all the solids, and they're going to stay where they're supposed to stay. So that's what this is for, to recondition them. Any comments, questions? All those in favor? Aye. Thank you. Motion passes. I entertain a motion to approve the mayor's request to transfer $19,116.65 from account 3209-599000 nitrogen pilot plant other financing uses to account 60004-499000 wastewater enterprise fund other financing sources. This transaction will close the nitrogen pilot plant fund since this project has been completed, and will increase the equity in the wastewater enterprise fund. So I'm doing just the opposite. We're putting some more money back in. Yay, I love doing that.
Second.
Oh, thank you. Any comments, questions? All those in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. Opposed? Motion passes. I entertain a motion to approve the mayor's request to transfer $21,000 from account 6100-578360 Water Enterprise Fund Reserve 53rd Week to account 6100-511000 Water Enterprise Fund Salary in order to provide sufficient funding for water department salaries for the remainder of fiscal year 2017.
Second.
Thank you. We all know about the 53rd week, and we need to fund it. Got to keep those salaries, and we got to keep those guys in those buildings operating, because I don't want any sludge anywhere where it's not supposed to be. All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion passes. Thank you. 2 more to go. I entertain a motion to approve the mayor's request to transfer $7,000 from account 6100-578360 Water Enterprise Fund Reserved 53rd Week to account 6100-513000 Water Enterprise Fund Overtime to provide sufficient funding for overtime at the Water Department for the remainder of fiscal year 2017.
Second.
Thank you. This, again, is to provide money, speaks for itself, for the 53rd week for their overtime fund. Any comments, questions? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Thank you. Another good one. I entertain a motion to approve the mayor's request to transfer $943.20 from account 3213-599000 10 Mile River Sewer Crossing other financing uses to account 60004-499000 Wastewater Enterprise Fund other financing sources. This transaction will close the 10 Mile River Sewer Crossing Fund since this project has been completed and will increase the equity in the Wastewater Enterprise Fund.
Second.
Thank you. Again, we're putting some more money back in. The project is completed and we had money left over. Any comments, questions? All those in favor? Oops, oh, sorry, excuse me, Jay, please.
Thank you. It's just a comment. I'm not sure what the appropriate time for the comment is, but I saw 10 Mile River. It's there in the Public Works Committee, so I just want to take a second, thank everyone who came out to help clean up the 10 Mile River. It was the 11th annual on Saturday, and it was probably the most successful that we had. We missed you, Mr. Cooper, hopefully next year. But it's great to see when we got there was really no litter even on the banks. And then what we were pulling out, we weren't pulling out what we usually pull out, some of the treasures, bowling balls, shopping carts, car batteries, it was trees, and it was limbs. So it shows whatever's been going on for the last 11 years is working. And at one point, there's that giant tree that right across behind the launching point by the community garden. We made a call to the DPW on Saturday, and they were able to send a crew of two guys down, and they were able to pull this giant tree that's kind of been in the way of the river cleanup for the last at least 6 years that I've been doing it. So
That's wonderful.
thank you for entertaining this comment, but I think it was just a really great show of community involvement from the 75 volunteers that came in and out throughout the day. Nick over in conservation, as well as Lance, really not even batting an eye when we asked for help. So thank you to everyone involved.
Thank you for giving them the kudos. Thank you.
Well deserved.
Thank you very much. With that, all those in favor, we already did all those in favor. I'd like to call for an adjournment, Public Works.
Second.
Thank you. All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? We are adjourned at 6:45. Thank you.
I've got one more.
6:52.
Pete,
Oh,
you-
go ahead. And it's a quickie, and then this is done. Calling, Committee on Public Safety and Emergency Management, back from recess. From the docket of June 6, 2017, I entertain a motion in accordance with Chapter 1, Section 12 of the revised ordinances of the City of Attleboro to approve the mayor's request to expend the Commonwealth of Massachusetts Executive Office of Public Safety and Security, EOPSS, Bulletproof Vest Partnership Program funds, and any future grant amendments. This program enables the purchase of body armor for police officers, whereas 50% of the cost is reimbursed by the U.S. Department of Justice, and the other 50% is reimbursed by the Massachusetts EOPSS. The Massachusetts EOPSS aspect of the program is controlled by a 5-year contract. This contract covers purchases made between March 1st, 2017 and February 28th, 2022. The Bulletproof Vest Partnership follows a reimbursement protocol, and there is no match required by the City of Attleboro.
Second.
Another grant and whatnot that these guys really work at. So this is a no-cost situation to protect our policemen when they're out on the streets with a proper equipment. Any comments, questions? Hearing none. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye, motion passes. I'd like to move to adjourn. Public safety at 6:46.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye, we adjourn. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Call Personnel and Human Services to order at 6:46. From the docket of June 6, 2017, I entertain a motion in accordance with Chapter 1, Section 12 of the revised ordinances of the City of Attleboro to approve the mayor's request to expend approximately $19,329 in one-care grant funding and any future grant amendments, which will be used to provide partial salary, health benefits, supplies, and materials for the SHINE program. This contract covers dates between April 11th, 2017 and March 30th, 2019, with $4,832 to be used between April 11th, 2017 and June 30th, 2017, and $14,497 to be used between July 1st, 2017 and March 30th, 2018.
Second.
Thank you. It's pretty self-explanatory, and we get SHINE grant money. We wish we got more SHINE grant money every year, but we don't, and this is what we got, and so we're going to go with it. Questions, comments, problems? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye, thank you, motion passes. Secondly, I entertain a motion to approve the mayor's request to transfer $2,500 from account 1650100-511000 park salary to account 1650100-530101 park professional services to repair one of the 3 stairways within the flats area of Capron Park.
Second.
Thank you. Again, pretty self-explanatory, $2,500 to repair the stairs one set of the stairs and the flats, and any questions, comments, problems? Hearing none, all in favor? Aye. Thank you, motion passes. I entertain a motion to approve the mayor's request to transfer $4,194.38 from account 1650100-521-010 park heating to account 1650100-548-040 park supplies equipment to purchase a 200-gallon Lesco tree sprayer to be used to spray the ornamental trees to combat winter moths and gypsy moths.
Second.
Thank you. Again, pretty self-explanatory. We have two choices. We spray them for those things, or they eat them and they die and we replace them. So we got a choice to make. I think this is the right choice to make. Any other question? Yes?
If I may, I walk down at Capron Park every day, and then I go home and brush the caterpillars off my dogs. So, and it's for the ornamental trees and things down there. So it's really, we will pay through the nose to replace those trees or buy the sprayer. So you have my support when it comes up for a full vote.
Great. Any other questions, comments, problems? Hearing none, all in favor? Aye. Thank you, motion passes. From the docket of April 18th, 2017, I entertain a motion to approve the mayor's request to appropriate $298,000 from account 8455-599000 stabilization fund, other financing uses to account 353549900 Angel Park renovations, other funding sources to rejuvenate Angel Park. So let me give you the update on Angel Park. So I met with the mayor this evening before the meetings to talk about the Angel Park renovation, and he was able to do two things that I think are important and that I think we can get behind. One is he was able to, through the sale of a local business that had received some CDBG money, that local business was sold, and that a portion of that money was paid back to the city, which can be used for the sidewalks around Angel Park.
Right.
So the money for the sidewalks can be provided through through that CDBG. They scaled back very much so the recreation equipment, and they are going to do irrigation, and they are going to do a memorial at the location, and that should be done. The city amount is actually $79,450. So from $300,000, well, actually $98,000 of that was sidewalk money, but nevertheless, it was still almost $300,000. It's down to just shy of $80,000, $79,450. Because we were meeting tonight, the mayor didn't have everything, and I didn't. And the other issue is that they are in a time crunch with the $93,000-ish from CDBG to spend it and have it committed in a certain period of time. So they need to get the vote out so that they can get that out, so that they can commit that money to this project for those sidewalks. Otherwise, she's got to parse it out to other possible sidewalk projects. But this one, if you're going to rejuvenate the park, it makes sense to put sidewalks in. Just from the safety perspective, it'll be harder to just blow right from one side of the park to the other in a vehicle with a curbing that could actually stop something. The mayor, so Frank's not here for me to ask him so I'm going to vote it out this way, out of committee, but we could amend it. My thought is, we vote it out like this tonight, out of the committee. Mm-hmm. The mayor, between now and next week, will get us revised budget to demonstrate this amount, and he will give us more detail on literally the swing set that will be at this location. They've scaled the rec equipment way back. So he will have more detail, but again, we're the end of the year time. They didn't know that if that money was going to come in time. It in fact did. They received the check, so now they can commit it to a project.
So Excuse me.
Go ahead.
Thank you. So you just want to get this out of committee. How we vote it out next week will be totally different.
Well, we'll
Because we're
have
not going
to,
to approve that amount of money.
that is correct. There's no way. So if between now and next week, we don't get I'll bring whatever we get back to the mayor, to this group. That's what should happen. But if it's not satisfactory and it's not $79,450, I'm not voting anything next week and we'll just kick it right back to committee.
Can I
But he's
follow up?
worried about the timing of,
I understand. It's funny because I just called this morning, this afternoon to make an appointment with him to talk about that. So will he have a design or any, like, is it they're scaled back, do they have a design now of what they want to do with that piece of property?
they know what
Because-
equipment they'll be putting in there. But the one that we had before was really, a lot of,
Elaborate.
very elaborate.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think he'll be able to, from that plan, identify what we're not going to do.
Okay, so it'll be more appeasing to the eye as far as it'll just make it look prettier, just because it is sad-looking little area.
It'll be,
But
it'll
I
be
mean,
nice.
I have the original plan that they were
Yeah, it
going
was
to do.
pretty robust.
It was
But I
that
think
little
with the
area.
sidewalks.
And that's my ward, so.
Right.
I'm stepping on myself right now. So, yeah, okay.
Councilor Parika?
So I always poo-poo on the party a little bit. So I guess what my concern is, so I'm grateful that we've reduced the cost of that significantly, because personally I thought it was insulting to send that down in the current climate of everything that's been going on. And so I'm grateful for the work that they've done to reduce that. My question though is, if we're going to take CDGB money and replace sidewalks or install sidewalks in this particular location, I'd be curious to see if there have been businesses that have been clamoring for the city to install new sidewalks in front of their businesses.
So I'm going to stop you right there so
Please,
you don't
no,
talk
but
out of
that's
school.
no. So that
So let me help you a little bit.
I appreciate that.
So there are sidewalk criteria in order to use CDBG money for sidewalk installations. For example, and I got a great learning because I almost spoke out of school when they were tearing the Swank building down. Right? I went right to that window because I was ripped that they were putting sidewalks in front of a building that they just ripped down. And I thought, there's nothing here. It has to do with, the formula has to do with the density, the number of people that are traveling, the number of,
Feet?
I'll say the wrong thing, but the handicapped entry, the ramp with the tactile, how many of those are in it can't just be because I said so. I want sidewalks around this park. And so, again, I'll ask the question, and I'm sure I know what the answer will be, but I'll ask Dorothy the question about meeting the guidelines for and why they picked that. They were going to do that anyway as part of the original plan. Not the original grant plan, but the original plan for this 298. When they applied for the grant, the sidewalks weren't in it. You remember Gary said that. So the sidewalks is something in addition to the
Renovation.
the original grant renovation, which is about the same amount of money that we were going to spend when the 298 came down.
So that leads me also, so that's a kind of tricky little area there where we have a one-way road where people don't necessarily recognize that it's a one-way road and drive up in the wrong direction. And so anything to kind of protect that area, I don't necessarily have a problem with. But I guess as I think about this moving forward, I would like to see the plans where the handicap access to those sidewalks are going to be, and whether or not there'll be a request for an installation of a crosswalk on Park Street, or where people would be, if they would be on the residential side of the park as opposed to the Park Street side of the park, or if there's been any consultation with regards to that. I would love to hear about that.
So this isn't about that, but I can get you those answers, or I can ask the question. I can't say I can get you the answer. Let me say I can ask the question.
Well done. Well played.
And I will do that. I think that we've been trying to do something in that area for many years, and I think that this is a potential solution to what was more than 3 times the amount than where we're at today, based on us pushing, right? So we all gasped at nearly $300,000. In fact, I think you said the word insulting. So I think that we all gasped at that and sent everybody back to the drawing board, and this is what they've come up with. And I don't think that there's been other projects in the area that we've spent way more than this amount to fix. And I think that there's the piece that is here at this particular park is there's an important piece of Attleboro history that we're also memorializing and preserving. And, you know, once we get all the sort of, all the facts that we can about it, if we like the amount, we say yay. If we don't, we say nay, and we move on. So that's sort of where I'm at with it at this point. We've spent a lot of time on back and forth with the mayor, and he's spent a lot of time, and I met with Gary very quickly about it. So I think that we probably have as much as we have for spending 71 million than we do for spending, you know, 80,000. So I think we've gotta think about it and move. But I'll get the answer to the questions.
Excuse me, just
Sure.
for a suggestion, perhaps if the mayor doesn't have all the answers to your questions right away, if you want to call for a meeting before our regular meeting next week, and maybe he could even come before us if, you know.
Yeah, that
if
was
need
my
be. Oh,
my
good.
plan
Great,
was to
thank you.
actually call for a committee meeting next week.
Great, thank you.
So that I could, so I don't have to say it twice, and in case we didn't vote something right tonight,
Yeah.
to give us an opportunity to fix it before the full council meeting. So I will do that.
Thank you.
May I? May I?
Yeah, hold on one second. Let me just make sure I write before I forget, because
That's
it goes in and goes out. Okay. Council
Hi.
Hall.
You'll love this because I want to commend you for all the work that you did. I know a lot of the work you did because I also had some conversations with the mayor and kept on saying, Mark's working on this, Mark's working on this. So thank you. And I know he's told me that he'd spoken to you, and I think it's this particular neighborhood, I mean, they deserve the standard that every other neighborhood has. And there's a standard of what they do in each neighborhood in terms of their recreation and what they put there. I mean, they're trying to keep that standard going throughout the city. So, and then also the sidewalks, because I said, the same thing about sidewalks. The thing is that this money has to be spent in a certain way, just like you said, it can't be used. And a lot of people might say, well, why are you putting this particular money? Why don't you move this somewhere else, like over to the schools? You can't. It has to be used for some specific types of project and has some very specific criteria, so I appreciate that also. I will give my support to this. I will. I think the number's coming in much less than what it was before. I think you did a lot of work. I think people put their heads together and came up with it, and you will get my support on it.
Thank you.
Cool.
Councilor Blair? Yes.
I know I'm old and small.
Yeah, well, you're on the side.
I know. Just a comment. I think it's great for the neighborhood out there, over there, and you can always add equipment at a later time, rec department, whatnot, neighborhoods get involved. The experience we've had on the east side with Briggs Playground, where it's been from the start, when we just did the pool, to the major renovation we did, has brought that community, or that little area together with so much pride that probably, supposedly, the roughest section of town, right, has the least amount of problems of any of our parks. So to put that small park down there and put it back in a workable condition, the sidewalks are ultimately important safety-wise, right? I think it'll give a sense of ownership, as it's done on the east side, Briggs Playground, I call it the East Side Park, with Briggs, that has brought that pride of ownership to the kids that use it, the families around there that use it. They watch for it, the vandalism is almost nil compared to the rest of the recreation areas we have. So I think it's an asset to that community. I thank you, Mr. Cooper, for getting it in the realm of reality, right? And I think it's a big, big step forward. I don't think you could spend $80,000 any better anywhere in this city than this particular project.
Thank you, Chris. Any other?
One more, please. Do you know if they're going to be using that local company that we all got a letter from?
No, I mentioned to the mayor that when he said he was meeting with you, I said that I can bet what one of the agenda items is.
Okay,
And, you can talk to him about that.
okay, thank you.
Any other questions, comments, problems? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye, thank you, motion passes.
Thank you.
That, yes, that concludes the business for Personnel and Human Services this evening. Call for an adjournment at 7:04.
Second.
Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes. Thank you, we are adjourned at 7:04.
Okay, and I would like to call to order at 7:04 the Committee on City Property and Claims. And I only have one motion this evening. From the docket of June 6, 2017, I entertain a motion in accordance with Section 1-12 of the revised ordinances of the City of Attleboro to approve the mayor's request to accept the donation of gift certificates to Walmart from the American Legion Auxiliary at Post 313 of South Attleboro, totaling $225 in value as donations to the City of Attleboro.
Second?
Thank you. Anyone have any questions, concerns? I think it's pretty self-explanatory, and again, I thank the American Legion for the work that they do and the donations they make to the city and to the people here in the City of Attleboro. With that said, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, motion passes, and that is all I have this evening, so I would like to make a motion to adjourn,
Second?
and I will do that, thank you so much, at 7:06 p.m. We are adjourned. Thank you.
I'd like to call budget and appropriations at 7:05 back to order, please. I entertain a motion to approve the mayor's request to transfer $32,000 from account 1000-359000 undesignated fund balance free cash general government to account 1145-1000-517240 treasurer Medicare tax to pay the med tax for a non-school and non-enterprise employees.
Second.
Thank you. As it says, we have to pay the med tax for the non-school and non-enterprise employees. Any other questions or comments? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, thank you. Motion passes. The next motion, I entertain a motion to approve the mayor's request to transfer $59,050 from account 11241-000-578360 citywide reserve for compensation 53rd week to accounts as follows. $1,430 to account 11211-000-511-000 mayor salary, $1,400 to account 1133100-51100 budget and administration salary, $1,260 to account 1135100-51100 auditor salary and wages, $1,200 to account 1146100-51100 collector salary, $2,875 to account 1161100-51100 clerk salary, $50,000 to account 1220100-51100 fire salary, $475 to account 1292100-51100 animal control salary, and $410 to account 1543100-51100 veterans salary in order to provide sufficient funding for the accrued payroll, which historically has been referred to as the 53rd pay week.
Second.
Thank you. And Deb Gould did send out a memo, and I did notice everybody was either CC'd on that, so everybody had time to look over that memo that was sent, and she outlined that going forward, the auditor and the treasurer next year would only have one day. Also during the budget meetings, thank you for those that did attend her budget meeting also. She did go over the 53rd payroll and what would be happening going forward. Next year it's a Saturday, which doesn't affect everybody. So as it's stated in the memo, which everybody did receive, as I did state, that they are going to meet and make sure the days between the auditor and the treasurer. As we know, we do have a new treasurer also. So I think as I'm seeing a certain department heads or things switching over, things are being noticed and changed also, so which is good, either streamlined or better appropriated to the council for an explanation. Okay, any other questions, comments? And as Kate said, we need to make sure the city's still going on those days, right? Any other questions, comments? All in favor? Aye, thank you. We, motion passes. I'd like to call for an adjournment at 7:09 PM.
Second.
All in favor? Aye. We are adjourned at 7:09 PM. Thank you. And just the last thing I forgot to mention is Cheryl Perry gave me the recycling revolving fund. So I will give that the solid waste program. And I made a copy for everybody. I'll pass out, okay?
License is canceled for tonight.
Mr. Conti.
Capital
Let's
improvement,
sign. It's in front of you.
Got the wrong one.
Here, let's switch it for you.
capital improvements and senior development is canceled this evening.
Ordinances, elections, legislative matters canceled tonight.
So,
No, go ahead, I'll be last.
So, let's see. I call the Committee for Transportation and Traffic to order at 7:09. I have a few motions here and lots to talk about. So, from the docket of April 4th, 2017, I entertain a motion that the Municipal Council approve the layout of Angeline Street as shown on sheet number 1 of the plan entitled Realignment of Angeline Street in the City of Attleboro, Commonwealth of Massachusetts, prepared by Carpianato Properties LLC, prepared by Garofalo Associates Incorporated, dated April 19th, 2017. Sarah?
Yes.
Second.
I'm sorry, I was reading something. Yes. Second.
Thank you, Sarah.
Forgive me.
It's okay. It's just me and you tonight in the committee. So you'll recall that back in February, we had a public hearing. Carpianato came in, Jack Jacoby came in. We talked extensively with regards to Angeline Street and the proposed layout. They petitioned the council specifically to accept the realignment. Gary came and he spoke, as well as Lance Hill came down and spoke as well. And I'm sure during our conversation tonight, I will remind you of some of the comments that they made during that public hearing. In the interim, I've had multiple meetings with Lance and with Gary and with the individuals at the planning board, as well as the developer. Gary had a long list of concerns and questions that he had with regards to this. And over the course of the last few months, we have vetted out, or Gary has vetted out all of his concerns, and he's comfortable with the plans as they are. So if you will, I do have copies. Isn't that lovely? So this is Angeline Street and how it would be realigned. I'm sure that individuals will be very happy to see that in the corner down here, it wasn't, the original copies that we got, the language was not appropriate, so that's been changed. This has gone through the planning board as well as, and I have a recommendation from them that will be read into they met last night, so it'll be read into the record at our next full council meeting in June. Thank you, Jay, I appreciate it. But you'll notice that there's quite a substantial amount of space that we'll be getting, that we'll be widening the street. And again, Gary was thrilled to pieces with this. We are truthfully kind of at this point holding up development down there, and the ability of shops to be able to move in and for them to come in and pave and line it and do all the things that they need to do. It is my opinion. Now, there are individuals that sit here that have been on the planning board. I have not. I've had a crash course in this. Provided that the planning board and that Gary are satisfied and that the DPW has been consulted, then I'm comfortable with it as well. Any questions or concerns? Yes, Mr. Cooper.
So I just want to make sure that I'm clear in terms of what we're doing. What we're doing tonight is, well, what your committee's doing tonight is deciding to accept the open right-of-way 39-foot curb to curb. The
Correct.
additional land that's required.
Yes.
The give and take that's necessary to make what's going to happen at the Washington Street Route 1 side a reality for the developer. We're not talking about parking on the street on either side.
We're going to get to that.
Okay, good.
After this. So
Okay.
I have 4 motions this
Okay.
evening. I have, if this happens, then we'll use this motion instead. I think that, being that we're not on any committees together, you and I have had a conversation about this, and I understood what your needs were with regards to this, and anything that you had questions on has been met.
Okay, good.
And that I think it's time that we make a move on this, accept it, and to approve the layout for Angeline Street. They also still, they have not completed the stormwater, what do you call it? The stormwater management system. So they haven't completed that. That's not complete yet, but they're right there. So together, like congruently, we'll accept the layout. They'll be finishing that up, and they'll be able to come in and pave. So I think that it was my opinion that I felt that was something that this council would be comfortable with, so I could move it out of committee. Are there any other questions or concerns? I have plenty of copies. Once we accept this, you will, in June, when this is passed through the council, we will have to sign it, so just be on the lookout for that. Sarah, do you have any questions or concerns? Then I shall move for a vote. All those in favor? Aye. And the motion passes. Thank you.
Looking at you, Steve.
So now, this I felt would be significantly more of a discussion topic as opposed to the acceptance, is regarding the parking on Angeline Street. It was my opinion that during the public hearing, that's really what the majority of the focus was on, trying to limit parking, not limit parking, however we would like to do it. I have 3 motions here, so that I'll read my initial motion, and then if that is not, Sarah, you'll have to second it. I would like to try and be able to manage this in committee now with everyone's input, so that in June we can just vote it out and everyone's accepting to it. So I have a couple of plans sitting in front of me. So let me read my motion first. From the docket of April 4th, 2014, I entertain a motion to adopt the following ordinance. Be it ordained by the Municipal Council of the City of Attleboro that Section 10-5.2A of the revised ordinances of the City of Attleboro prohibited on certain streets, amended 7/23/15, be amended by adding the following in alphabetical order. Angeline Street, both sides.
Second.
Thank you, Sarah. So, it would be my recommendation, through the research that I've done and the conversations that I have, I disagree with some individuals, and some individuals disagree with me. I think that when we look at Angeline Street as it exists right now, and we expand our vision outwards, we have multiple streets in that area that need help and need assistance. And with the changing of the lights on Washington Street, the addition of a light at Angeline Street, the ability for us to have them all run in the right order so that traffic moves in an appropriate fashion, it is my expectation that the traffic on Angeline Street will increase dramatically. I think that there are issues down the way on May Street that they may see some relief in that area. And when the planning board looks at something, they look at what is directly in front of them. And there are other individuals they how do you say it? They make determinations on current statistics, not future statistics. And I really think that Angeline Street, given the new width of it and the sidewalks and things like that, it will become the new May Street. And I personally prefer to do things right, in my opinion, from the very get-go, as opposed to going back and making corrections. And I think that as Angeline Street, as the mall is built and access is increased and people are utilizing it, I think that having parking on Angeline Street in and of itself will be problematic. I think it'll be problematic for the DPW. When Lance was here in front of us, he did recommend, that was his recommendation, that they would restrict parking on Angeline Street. I understand that it would be inconvenient to some of the neighbors that are in that location, or potentially inconvenient, but there's no way for us to guarantee that those spots are solely for their use. When the contractor was here in front of us during the public hearing, when I've met with him on multiple occasions, they would have access, if there's a closing at the attorney's office on the corner, they would have access to utilize the parking lot. They can't designate spots specifically for them at that location, but it's not like they'll be calling somebody up and asking them for them to be towed. So for me, I think that with plowing and we had 3 different versions of the recommendation on Angeline Street. There'd be a painted island in the middle so that people coming in off of Newport Avenue will have a direction to go. And I think that the occasional inconvenience that the neighborhood would face would be less dramatic than the loss of their vehicles due to accidents and different things like that. So it is my recommendation to restrict parking on both sides. I have a plan in the event that you guys don't agree with me. So I will open up the floor to comments. First to my committee, if she would like to speak.
I personally agree with it, that's all.
Okay. Councilor Hall.
And I also agree with it. And I did actually get a phone call from one of those residents who had called me originally and was concerned about the widening of the street. And I think I said that before, like when the neighbors first showed up and nobody said anything against it, I was like, what? Because that was one of their concerns. But we did have a conversation, and I said to this individual, what's your preference? And I thought the same thing, that, would you be uncomfortable? I said, what if you didn't have parking for your own neighbors? I said, that would restrict parking. If you wasn't worried about that, was much more concerned about people parking on the road, if that was that option. So I think that this particular individual, who actually is the last house closest to all the activities, did hear from that person and, wasn't happy with the widening. But I said, well, what about this then? And was much happier to hear that the preferred methodology was going to be a no parking anywhere. And he was feeling much more comfortable about that.
Thank you. It is a concern for me. There's going to be a pub right down the end of the road. Anything can happen down the street if they're having a big karaoke festival or something like that. I've spoken to some of the residents in that area. We did have. I'm sorry, Mr. Cooper. What is the attorney's name?
Andriozzi.
Thank you very much. Mr. Andriozzi came here. He was very concerned that during the closings that he wouldn't have ample parking. I went down and I visited him. I was in the back of his building. I saw he owns a couple of the houses on that street. I don't necessarily agree with him that would be, and then in addition to that, we have other options available to him during that time. Any other comments, Mr. Cooper, or anything?
I know, I'm going to think about what you're bringing. I'm not going to commit right now, tonight, because this is Ward 2, and I'm so happy that you spoke to...
You know who I'm talking
yes.
about. Yeah.
I am glad that you spoke to him, and I'm glad that you brought that up tonight, because he, in fact, and the neighbors said at a minimum one side of the street. They all said that. I went back and watched it, and that's what they all said here. At a the woman's name I can't remember off the top of my head, but she's the one that kept reinforcing it. At a minimum, one side of the street. So I'm glad he said what he said. I know how Attorney Andriozzi feels about it. He's made that perfectly clear. And I think that there is some merit in your assumption that Angeline Street will be busier than it has ever been, because it's signalized, it's wider, it's easier to move through and navigate through. There's a light on Route 1 than trying to make that awkward turn uphill on May Street. And I hope that assumption is true for the people that have put up with it on May Street. And as I said to you the other night, we can't fix the problem. We can't fix the mistake we made in closing Cumberland Ave. So that concludes my comments. And I'm not saying what I feel right at the moment. I think I said it without saying it, but I will wait till the full council meeting when when I have the opportunity to vote. But I just wanted to say, thanks to Jules, thanks for doing that. Thanks for having our discussion about it last week. We didn't agree, but we agreed to disagree.
That's okay, we can disagree.
But I think you might have brought me sort of full circle.
So I do have, if I may, I'll be right with you, Councilor Blair. So I do have an alternative. If we're feeling passionate, I think that everyone can kind of see the merits of restricting parking in that location. I do have two other motions in the event that we weren't feeling comfortable with that, that we could, we need, I will hold up my other little map, we need to restrict parking from Washington Street to the First. So I would have to provide that as restricted parking, but we can allow parking here. Like we can certainly, look, we can do anything. It's up to us to do that. However, I have strong concerns, and I trust in the department heads that know this, and where there are other options available to Mr. Andriozzi, then I'm a little more comfortable with it.
And I just want, if I may follow up to that, I think what you said last week when we discussed it was it's easier to add it if we need it,
Right.
than take it away if it's there at first. And I agree with that statement. I think that's, I think that's sort of has sort of brought me to thinking that, if the neighborhood comes to us and says, for the reasons I stood in front of the podium and said I needed it, I still need it, we can consider it at that time.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
I'll get right to you. Go ahead. I couldn't see him out of this side.
Yeah, no, first of all, thank you for the work that you've done on this. I think coming prepared with different options in the event, that one option might be better than the other, I think it shows some forethought, so I appreciate that. I'm in agreement with your approach in this one. When you're changing traffic patterns, you're adding shops, we need to make the best decision from a public safety standpoint. And I think by restricting parking, although, and I empathize with the neighbors, I think we have to look at the bigger picture and realistically, what is going to be the safest option for the city, for the people coming to the city, because it's not just going to be Attleboro residents that are using Angeline Street, and it's not just going to be people coming from Washington. It's going to be when they exit, they're going to be exiting onto Newport Ave. So I think it's kind of like one of those mazes where, it's like kind of follow the lights and everything else, but that's really what a traffic pattern is anyway. So I think that this is probably the most prudent option that we have in front of us.
Thank you. I nominate you next year to be traffic and transportation chair after that analysis. Mr. Blair.
I know you've done a lot of work on this, but we have a lady at the end of the street that maybe doesn't have visitors, it's not worried about parking on the street, but the property owner's right. They bought the houses with parking, the availability to have somebody stop by their house. I think it should be looked at, that you have parking on one side of the street from Newport Avenue to the new section. If you could turn a switch on and off and try it the one way with no parking, it's fine. But if we get neighbors that decide that their sister can't stop at the house or whatnot, the developer offered to increase parking on their property, to me, personally. And I put that out there and had no comeback. Mr. Coates said, not a problem, anybody needs extra parking, I'll do the blacktop, he's willing to do anything to get things done before they're done. After they're done, I don't think they would be quite so happy to say, Mrs. Jones needs some extra parking.
Right.
Property owners' rights, it's hard for me to vote to take away something they've had or the ability to have, even though we're improving the street. So I'm a little torn at that.
I understand that. It's been a difficult conversation to have and to kind of weigh the pros and cons on that roadway.
The street should have been, if it isn't wide enough to accommodate parking on one side, it should have been wider, in my opinion. They should have had parking on that side of the street from the get-go.
Okay, all right. Any other, oh, yes, Councilor Conti?
So I think you misspoken, Councilor Blair. The bundle of rights does not include the right to park on public property. The bundle of rights that comes with ownership of property is from a point in the center of the earth to your lot line up into the sky.
I understand that, Mr. Conti. I'm just saying property owners' expectations.
There should be no expectation on a city street.
Yeah.
So, Council Parika, I'm in full favor of your proposal to have no parking on the street. It is logical and sensible. I will never drive on May Street again once Angeline Street is open. It's going to relieve a lot of issues down there in that part of the street, and I think that no parking on Angeline Street is the best of the options. So I support the committee's decision to do this completely, and when it comes on to full council, you can expect my support, and that concludes my comments.
Thank you, Councilor Conti. It's an interesting statistic that a third of all vehicles that are traveling down Newport Avenue turn up May Street. And so the same will be said in that similar location. It is a high traffic area. We've been searching since I took over as traffic and transportation chair. I've been searching for ways to try and solve some of the concerns of the residents. There's a letter in my committee since like 2011 from families down on May Street. This is one way because the mall that's over here, let's see, hold on one second. So the mall that's here has no access, it's emergency access only out onto May Street. There's the potential that we can make some small changes to May Street so it would discourage people from traveling down May Street and taking a left onto Newport Avenue. I have the expectation that the implementation and widening of Angeline Street there'll be a ripple effect onto Newport Avenue, and we're going to have to research concerns about. I can almost guarantee you someone's going to look for a light or something like that at the end of Angeline Street at Newport Avenue. It is my understanding that the contractor, one of the conditions from the development, planning and development, is that they are working with Serped to try and figure out that concern before that happens. Again, I appreciate your comments, Councilor Delissio. I try to use a little bit of forethought as it pertains to this location because it's going to get a little nutty down there and people are going to learn how to use it. Did you have another comment?
I do have a comment. In reference to the comments that you made about the contractor going in and doing and asking the neighbors, this individual that I'm speaking of, who was particularly concerned because of his disability and his vehicle and didn't want his vehicle blocked in, did take advantage of that and did have an additional parking space, because I said, oh, you got a nice little parking space over here on your other side of your house. Did take advantage of that, and the contractor did indeed put something in for this individual. So some of them did. If they didn't take advantage of it, they might have other reasons for not. But so I can say that somebody did. And from what I also understand, and I don't want to necessarily. I know that Angeline will be busier. That's fine. But I do also understand that there will be some kind of a delayed light that will incentivize people to go all the way down to the end because that light's going to be quicker. So there will be a delayed light.
Where do you mean?
It's going to be before Angeline, so it'll be before.
On Washington Street?
Yes.
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 Yep.
So, people probably will be able to make the turn faster if they go all the way down to Newport, but that's just something we'll have to see. And so what I'm saying is I hope that Angeline doesn't become that quicker turn, and that somehow there's an availability to get people incentivized to go all the way down to Newport the way they redesign it. So there's more work to be done, but this is the best option right now in taking care of that, I believe.
Thank you.
I appreciate it.
Any additional comments or questions or concerns? Councilor Reynolds, I would like to vote this out as it is now. I will keep my other motions in the event that we need to make an amendment. We won't be voting on this again until the first meeting in June. So I'd like to kind of get this rolling tonight, if that's okay with you, so.
I'm in line with that.
Excellent. So, to restrict parking on both sides of Angeline Street, I will move for a vote. All those in favor? Aye.
Second?
Oh, second. All those in favor? Aye. Motion passes. Thank you very much. Thank you. I was so nervous. All right, that concludes the business for the Committee on Traffic and Transportation. So I call for an adjournment at 7:33.
Second.
All those in favor? We are adjourned. We're all done. And I have plenty of copies of the map in the back, so if I got the layout, if anyone wants to take a look at it. And you're done.
Awesome. I still have,
Oh, wait, no, Julie.
I still have, no, I didn't.
Excuse me, while the TV's still on.
Julie has,
I still have business.
Oh, okay, very good.
Business, Mr. Conti?
No.
Okay, so I still have business.
This announcement form?
Okay, so I'm going,
I just want that to go out to the
okay,
public.
yeah.
All right.
Thank you, yes. Okay, this will be quick, I promise. So I'm going to call the Committee on Zoning and Land Use to order at, it looks like 7:35. And really, all I want to do, because I do have 3 public hearings come up, I just want to quickly just talk about the public hearings, and that'll be the end of it, if that's okay. So the first public hearing I have going, these are all in the, the first one is the rezoning petition from John Bredesen and Rosaline Bredesen regarding property located at 0 Lindsay Street, Assessor's Plat number 94-1, and Assessor's Lot numbers 10E and 17. The petitioners want to change the current zoning of the property from SRD and I industrial to SR-D for the entire property, 13 acres plus or minus. The joint public hearing with planning board is scheduled for 6/2017. And from the docket of the 16th, no, we don't need that, from the docket of May 2nd, we are going to accept 4 streets, or discuss accepting of 4 streets, Downing Drive extension, 1,712.
We'll do one at a time.
Down, yes.
You want to have discussion on the first one? This one? One docket at a time.
Right, I just did that docket.
Right, so
Yes, I just did that docket.
just calling for a public hearing?
No, I'm not calling, this is just informational.
Okay.
Sorry, no, not a problem. I appreciate your, keeping me on track, but, no, that's it. This is just informational. Except 4 streets is listed, Downing Drive Extension, 1,712 feet. Stone Forest Lane, 410.12 feet. Fieldview Circle, 316.25 feet. Springdale Avenue Extension, 1,688.52 feet. All of the streets have been reviewed and approved, and all performance guarantees have been released by the planning board, subject to MGL Chapter 41 subdivision control law and its rules and regulations governing the subdivision of land as amended. That public hearing is scheduled for 6 June 2017. And from the docket of April 18th, request for a special permit from the Municipal Council from BCWC Inc. to operate a registered marijuana dispensary at property located at 34 Extension Street in Attleboro. That's public hearing is continued until June 6th of 2017. So, again, just informational, and since I'm doing informational, a couple of things. If you haven't seen the Veterans Memorial Common, please go take a look at it. It's over 7,000 flags we put on that common today, and just lots and tons of people came out. Veterans came out, civilians came out, residents, came out, and it was just really wonderful. People kept on showing up, and it's really, really beautiful out there. The other thing is the firefighters had their annual breakfast this Saturday, which was very awesome. Lots of people came out for that, and we want to thank the firefighters for doing that. That's really wonderful. I actually ran, and I was hungry, and went over and had eggs.
and I saw you.
So,
And we saw each other.
that's right. There was tons of people there. And on a more solemn note, the message that was passed to me is that to make sure that everybody does know that the wake for David Poirier will be held at Duffy Pool Funeral Home this Friday from 4 to 8 p.m. And the funeral will be held on Saturday at St. John's at 10 a.m. So that's for everybody's knowledge. Yes, Mr.
Just to repeat what Chief Hackney said, very dedicated officer, retired some 6 years ago, And it was a sudden passing, and I know all our prayers go out to his family at this time, so I just wanted to make sure, and Julie was kind enough to read that in.
No, thank you so much, and yes, on behalf of the council, to the Corey family, please, we're sorry for your loss.
Thank you.
Yes, thank you. So that concludes the Committee on Zoning and Land Use. I'd like to call for an adjournment at 7:38.
Second.
Second, all in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. We're adjourned at 7:38. Thank you.
I apologize.
Why can't we?
Never done this.
It's tough for some.